Good afternoon and good evening to everyone out there in viewer land. Welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of The Rundown. I am your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the left coast behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras in California. But luckily, I don't do this program by myself, and I have a good friend from Free America.
Free to do what I want. Hey, everybody, this is Mike Porowski. I am coming to you live from the East Coast, the coast with the most. I will be here to help you get through the rundown, today's stories, as Craig's number one.
So, Mike, Porowski, that's a new one.
Porowski,
Where'd that one come from?
Porowski.
Where'd that one come from?
Yeah, one of the youths that I in the youth program that I'm involved with used Porowski. They took an R out of the end and stuck it in the front, and it's like, all right, that's a new one. Let's go with that. Yeah,
that's so what happens when you stop teaching phonetics.
That's it. Phonetics. Yo, phonetics.
Faux show. Netics.
That's faux show. So how was your Craig doing today? How's Craig doing today?
You know what? Doing phenomenal. We had a big storm. A lot of rain over the weekend. And, people acted like they never drove in rain before. We talked about that yesterday. Yesterday, though, by the afternoon, evening, it was perfectly sunny. Had a good time, kind of assessed where I need to make sure drains are cleaned and cleaned out gutters and all of that fun stuff.
That's good. That's very good stuff. That's very good. I do know that the storm must have knocked your camera around again, because when we came live today, my face was right here again, and I didn't move at all. Because, folks, if you're just a little behind the scenes magic, we try to make ourselves same size in the same shot, same height and everything like that. And we'll do our tests and everything will be good. And then we'll do our tests individual, and we forget to do the together test. And today was the day we forgot to do a together test.
Well, see, Mike, I do several different shows, so my kind of setup is a little bit different depending on the thing.
Oh no, I'm there with you also, especially with our first topic, the Alec Baldwin thing. I've been crazy doing interviews. So.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, why don't we go ahead and get into that? We didn't talk.
If you want. We want to talk about some tacos first. It's Taco Tuesday. What kind of tacos are you going to have today?
It is Taco Tuesday, and I have not consumed any tacos yet. I'm debating what direction I'm going to go today.
Yeah, you see, you got it's noontime. It's just after noontime for you there, so you still got time. I'm at 5. I'm looking at dinner tacos now. I did have some lunch tacos, but I was considering dinner tacos as well. So I didn't know what to. Maybe your lunch taco decision could help my dinner taco decision.
Well, yeah. So who knows? Maybe. So for lunch tacos, I was actually, I hate to say this, and I feel almost ashamed to say this, but I really have a taste for Del Taco. They have a Taco Tuesday special. It's like a gang of those crunchy tacos that just like, and normally that for me, that's like kind of like drunk food, but just for some reason,
A lot of people don't know Del Taco makes a street taco. They give you
they do
in a piece of aluminum with a corn tortilla, just your meat, onion and cilantro, and a squeeze of lime. They make a street taco. You just have to tell them street taco, and they're like, "Do you want lettuce and tomato on there?" I'm like, "No, stop. Listen to me. Street taco. That's it. You have meat, cilantro, onion. Go away with everything else.
Yeah, but something about a street taco, it's like, I kind of like the idea of watching them, just like scoop it all up, put it in the, on the paper plate with the wrapped aluminum on top of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There's something about the ambiance of getting your street taco on the street.
Yes. That's it. It's very true. Very true. Now, you could go eat it in the parking lot of Del Taco if you wanted, I guess.
I suppose I could.
All right. Well, now I'll let you go. I took you through enough banter now.
Okay, so we've gone through enough banter, and now we're going to get into today's top story. Well, this has been a story for a few days now, and most of you are already familiar with what happened on the set of a film called Rust with Alec Baldwin in New Mexico. There was an incident with a firearm where, evidently somebody forgot to check and make sure there wasn't live ammo in the firearm that they were using and that they were rehearsing with. And turns out Alec Baldwin wound up pointing it at a camera person and a director and pulling the trigger. resulting in the death of the cinematographer, the camera operator, and injuring the director of the film. Well, now they've come out with they did a number of different search warrants, and now we're getting more data and more information about what occurred and how it occurred, and kind of the timeline of how things went down. And there's a lot of discussion about, there's always going to be a conversation about who's to blame or who's at fault. But then there's also questions of both criminal and civil liability in an incident like this. And, Michael, I didn't really get your analysis, but I wanted to see what, based on what you've seen and what you've read, what kind of your take on the whole incident?
Well, you want the 3-minute version or the 30-minute version? That's the only question.
Let's do the 3-minute version because we got a lot of other stories to talk about.
3-minute version is the first rule of firearm safety. First rule of firearm safety is treat every firearm as if it's loaded. That's it. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. If the first rule of firearm safety is followed, this incident does not occur. This does not matter if there's different kinds of guns on a movie set. You have faux guns, you have the airsoft guns, the non-gun guns, right? These are the ones that look like a gun at 10 feet away on a camera. You have the prop guns. These are guns that are they are mechanical working devices, yet the barrels are solid, except for perhaps a pinhole for a gas, and they do not project, should not expel a projectile. Then you have other firearms such as shotguns, single action guns, revolvers that you could put blanks in. The barrels are open, but the force of the round expelling is not required to make the rifle or the handgun function. And then finally, you have those guns that we just mentioned, plus regular automatics or semi-automatics that take live ammunition. So there's different kinds of guns. The last two you don't want on a set. And I've worked on a couple of different sets as the prop master and the firearms armorer and done this job. You don't want those guns on the set. It's too simple to get guns that are safe, and it's too simple to have an accident that could result in a fatality. Additionally, Craig, I'll say this to you, that Alec Baldwin, due to his fervent anti-gun stance, has never probably had a firearms safety lesson in his life because he hates guns. Hates them. Well, guess what, folks? It's not about whether you hate guns or not. They exist, and you should know how to manage them or touch them safely. And he didn't know those, and his lack of knowledge, because of his political bias, probably caused this woman's death. Now, I say cause. That goes into the second part of this topic, right, Craig? Because there's two portions here, criminal liability and civil liability. Less Alec Baldwin had an intent to kill or hurt this woman, you're not going to see murder charges. I don't know how the state of New Mexico works, how strong their involuntary manslaughter charges are. He may still face a criminal charge of involuntary manslaughter or culpable negligence or some sort of a criminal liability there, depraved indifference for those back up northeast. So that may still happen, but at a minimum, he's going to face wrongful death suit on the civil side for this woman's death.
Oh, most definitely. My kind of perspective is the same. I've been on sets with prop guns, with airsoft or really fake guns, and I've been on sets with real firearms. The key, I think, with a lot of this is, one is the armor. Ultimately, the armor is the one who needs to make sure that all firearms are not. To make sure that the armor's responsibility is to make sure that the firearms are in safe condition, number one. Number two, to make sure that all firearms are being handled safely on set. If you're using real firearms, then there needs to be some sort of training of every person who is going to be near or handling these firearms on the processes and procedures to make sure that those firearms are handled safely, to make sure that they have been verified, that they have the proper non-live rounds in them, how to inspect them, how to make sure that they are in safe condition. All of that needs to be done and trained and on the armor. And then it's the responsibility of every individual who is handling that firearm to know proper firearm safety and firearms handling, and to follow the direction of the individual who is responsible for making sure that they are in fact safe. I've gotten in a number of debates with folks who want to say, "Oh, well, Alec Baldwin is 100% to blame." I say he's mostly to blame, but he's not solely to blame. Once again, I go back to everyone who's supposed to be responsible in this particular case. Now, as a producer, in particular an executive producer, he bears an additional amount of liability in that his job as a producer is to make sure that processes and procedures are in place to make sure that it is a safe working environment. And not only does he have exposure as the individual who who held the firearm and who fired it, but also as a person who, once again, in an executive capacity, who's responsible for making sure that this is a safe work environment. And if it's deemed that they skimped, that they didn't do everything possible, he could potentially be brought up on charges. Once again, depending on how strict New Mexico's manslaughter laws are. I think there's plenty of blame to go around, but I think you're right. Ultimately, his position on firearms, the fact that he is anti-gun, led to a lack of respect for firearms. In particular, I think because this was an old Western and this looked like an old gun, how dangerous could this old gun be is probably his attitude. Once again, if you don't have respect for firearms, you become a dangerous person when a firearm is put in your hands.
This is one of those type of guns we talked about where he said it's a older single action revolver or just any type of revolver. You don't need to have a solid barrel. I could use it both ways. I could use it as a real firearm or as a prop gun with blanks. And again, listen, blank guns are still very dangerous as well without the solid barrel because they expel those gases 10 feet away or so that could still, hurt or kill you people. We know that's happened.
Was it Brandon Lee?
Brandon Lee was shot with a real firearm, it's my understanding, on the set. But it was, what was the actor from the Voyagers TV show? It happened on the set there. Picked up a revolver and said, "Hey, everybody, look at this," and shot himself at this range. And that was enough for the gases to fracture his skull and send pieces of his skull into his brain, killing him. That happened early 80s, if I recall. But it did happen on a movie set or TV set. Craig, when people say Alex 100% wrong, I'll say this. I think that's the wrong way to frame the question or make the statement, because 100% it is implying is that he's the only one and that he gets all 100%. The problem is you could have 4 or 5 people here that are 100% to blame, not just one. And then you may have 1 or 2 that could be criminally liable as well, not being Alec Baldwin. You could have others knowing their job, knowing their title, and if they did not perform those functions correctly, could be criminally liable for this. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, you're right. Now, in terms of on the civil end, when a lot of times when they determine who has to pay what, they determine percentage of liability, and that's usually adds up to 100%. So when I think of that, that's what I was thinking of. In other words, they're going to determine who's at fault or who's to blame or who's liable, and the percentage wise is going to change depending on a number of different things. And that's what I say Alec Baldwin is exposed in more than one area. That's what I was referring to.
I don't know. I know what you were going with. I'm just saying that the flip side of that is there is no standard amount of who is okay. Now it's going to be $10 million we award, and you're 70% responsible, and you're 30. No, there's no cap on that number there. There's no. So we could have multiple over and overs again that occur, and multiple trials where everybody is 100% liable. I'll say this though, from what we know what's going on there with the crew. There was some crew leaving. There were some non-payments of per diems or housing, something along those lines. Cameramen were leaving. So you have already the fear. I'll say this: the workers' fear of the superstars is what you have, and they left. And I know what you're saying, where the armorer, the prop master, has to be in charge, set the rules and set the standards. But when the guy who's making $10 million on the set says, "Get away from me or you're fired," guess what happens? If that prop master who's making $10,000 for that movie cowers down to the $10 million man, well, now everybody is in danger on the set.
Well, yeah, if that's what happened, if that is in fact what happened, and I think eventually it will bear out, and we'll have all the information and news we need to know if that is in fact what happened. And from what I hear about Alec Baldwin, that's not very far fetched.
Right.
It's not hard. It's not hard to believe that may have in fact been the case.
Yep. That's what we're hearing.
But we know, we all know about bullies. And one other bully actually has to do with our next story, Mr. Fauci. Now, from the very beginning, there has been a lot of questions about the origins of COVID-19. And, we've had both the mainstream media and social media and the tech giants censor any conversation about it potentially coming out of the Wuhan lab, actually having been produced by man, and on top of it, having it potentially have been funded by the National Institute of Health, by NIH, basically funded by Dr. Fauci through NIH. And any discussion of that, anytime it's been brought up, it's been poo-pooed, it's been banned, it's shadow banned, whatever you want to call it. That discussion has been revoked or covered up by mainstream media and by the tech giants. Well, now there's a letter that has come out of NIH. It's a groundbreaking letter that basically shows that not only did Dr. Fauci, not only did he play a role in funding the organization that did the study, that did gain of function, which largely they believe was responsible for the COVID-19 outbreak, but that he knew it when he was before Congress. And he basically, where he had the knowledge of it before he went to college, Congress, and actually provided false testimony to Congress.
Yes, again, we're talking at the Wuhan Institute of Virology of the Chinese Academy of Sciences.
Right.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology. By the way, where the Wuhan virus came from, right?
It's not the Wuhan virus. It is the Chinese Kung Fu bat flu.
The Chinese Kung Flu bat, which is from the Wuhan wet market.
Yes.
Right there.
Which, by the way, was always interesting to me. They wanted to say that it was racist to say that it was man-made and came out of China. Isn't it more racist to say that we have this worldwide pandemic because Chinese people eat bats?
They do eat the bats. And you know what a wet market is? Listen, I think we might have said this before. Do you know what a wet market is? And this is where you lose things in a translation.
It just means like a live market where they actually kill it there at the market.
No, a wet market's just a seafood market.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's just a seafood. It's just their seafood market. Yeah. So you go.
But it just sounds dirty, doesn't it? Wet market.
It does, right? Yeah. A wet market. It sounds like they're assassinating bats. Like bring the evil back to me. They're Alec Baldwin and the bats over there. So yeah, and then of course there's a regular market next door where they have land animals as well. But the wet market, I've always thought that was funny. It's just it means a seafood market. How many times we got to catch Fauci lying, right? Yeah, and it's not like I don't know, he's doing it in front of Congress or on the stand or anything, right? How many times does this guy have to get caught in these lies, or another letter comes back up, or another authorization, or it's just absolutely amazing. I tell you we're gonna find out too is that he loaded the gun out at the Alec Baldwin shooting as well, and that he's the one responsible for Let's Go Brandon. This guy's gonna get wrapped into everything, and every bit of it's gonna be a lie and be a falsehood.
Well, and the once again, the funny part is the media acts like oh yeah, no, none of this. Like I think it was Variety who actually came up with this, but they act like yeah, no, you guys haven't been perpetrating the lie right along with him. They acted from the very beginning like that was it was a crazy conspiracy theory. And now all of a sudden we've got the information that actually supports the conspiracy. It's no longer a wild conspiracy theory. It's actually the likely truth of this likely story. And they act like, well, look, we just broke news. No, you didn't.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do we have to see Senator Rand Paul go, is this your memo? Is this your handwriting? Is this your signature? Is this you ordered this? Right. Well, no, you have to understand, sir, that's not what it means. But that's what it says.
Right. Well, and what they're staying behind is this definition, and the definition of gain of function is, once again, technically what they're saying is, well, if I combine these two things and what I do, if I know that it's going to increase the danger of this virus, then it's gain of function. But if I do the very same thing and I don't know if it's going to make it more dangerous, well, then that's not gain of function. Well, that's a distinguishment. What's that? That's a distinguishment without a difference? Is it distinguishment?
Yeah, exactly right. And when 99 others out of 100 are saying, no, that's what it is, it's time for you to come off your weak ass excuse. Is really what needs to happen.
Well, what's funny is and this is what was really funny with this memo. So in 2018, these folks came to NIH and sought grant funding to do this specific sort of they call it cleavage or whatever it is, and in order to bond it together, in order to and see what would happen, right? And NIH, they turned them down because on that particular thing, because they're like, no, you don't have efficient safety protocols in place. Then they came back to them for something else that was similar, but not just that. So then they funded that, right?
Yes.
Then it turns out that the exact same thing that they initially came to them for in 2018 and said, okay, yeah, we're gonna, that very same thing turned out to be the thing they wanted to play around with was exactly what turned out to be the thing that made COVID-19 more dangerous. Now, there's one physician or one doctor or expert who said, look, if I came to you and I asked for a grant to paint Central Park purple, and you turn me down, and then 6 months later we wake up one morning and Central Park is now painted purple, one would think that I would be the number one suspect.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah.
You would think, since it turned out to be exactly what they were talking about researching, that's exactly where it came from.
Except Fauci said, I didn't say they could paint it purple. What I told them was they could paint it purple. And that's different.
Well, I told them they could paint it lavender.
Yeah. Right, exactly. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, so I think you should start to see eventually folks basically starting to ask for Fauci to resign because he has no credibility left. None whatsoever. When Variety and when the left string media comes after you and starts calling you a liar, your folks start calling you a liar, it may be time for you to go.
Yeah, well, who's going to fire him though? Biden doesn't even know where he is. Maybe we get Jen to do it. Get Jen Psaki to do it. Nobody's getting fired in this administration. Come on.
Gotta happen. It's gotta happen though. Anyway, you're probably right, but we know what should happen.
Yeah. We should. It should have happened. Yeah, it should have happened a while ago. Yeah.
Right.
Very, very true. Very true, sir.
All right. Well, talk about interesting things that should happen. In California, we have legalized it for recreational use marijuana. And the whole idea is that, we're going to legalize this, we're going to regulate it, and then we're going to turn it profitable, and then we're going to take that extra money and we're going to put it into programs and youth programs and local communities and yada, yada, yada. Well, what they're finding is that is just not the case, and that's not how it's working. In the state of California, especially initially, it was so highly taxed and so highly regulated that it basically made it cost prohibitive. So in other words, people would go and they would do all the testing, make sure it was proper and pure and safe and all of that, and then they would also tax the crap out of it. And they made it so that it was way more expensive to buy legal marijuana than it was to just, buy it from the same person that people were already buying their weed from. it basically made it so that marijuana is now legal to possess. So it doesn't matter for me. I'm not breaking the law if I buy it from someone who's not a licensed retailer. They're breaking the law by selling it to me, and if they're willing to do that, fine. So now they're finding that that legal weed is not able to compete in the market with illegal weed in the state of California. And so we are seeing the businesses are not making the profits that they thought they were going to make, and communities are not seeing the tax revenue that they thought they were going to make. But what we are seeing is an increase in crime for a lot of these farms, places that are non-cached. People are going in and they're robbing both the cultivation places as for both product, as well as they're robbing them for cash, because a lot of them, once again, they're non-banked because marijuana is still illicit on the federal level. And anyway, so we're finding that the joys of legalizing marijuana are, well, not really coming to fruition.
Only California could screw this up. I mean, there's no Mexico gets this right. There's no way anyone else could screw this up as bad as California does.
Actually, Colorado saw the exact same issues.
They did not see the issues. They had the overtaxation problem. They did not see the issues with the criminal element. By that you are correct. Yeah. They did not have the criminal. So again, California has screwed it up even worse than anybody else. Overtaxed, right? Okay. It's kind of like when the gambling and the lottery starts in your state. It's a cash cow. They think everybody's going to profit from it. This literally is the definition of a cash crop. Its only purpose is to make money, and California has screwed this up royally. And the excuse, I love the excuse portion of this, Craig, is, well, we're not successful because we're competing with all the unlicensed marijuana distributors here in the state. I believe those would be known as drug dealers. Okay, that would be illegal activity, and you should go out and arrest them. Is what you should do. Okay.
Unlicensed, kind of like birthing person, otherwise known as a woman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How do you tell? I mean, it's the end user that's enjoying both product. Well, you know what? New York had this problem for many, many years with untaxed cigarettes. You know what they did? They went out and asked everybody to see their cigarette pack and the tax stamp on it. So if you want to be in public and you want to have your untaxed product, that's fine. Here's your fine. It's $500, sir. We'll make up the taxes somehow. That's how we'll do it. If you're not going to arrest the people that are selling it, then tax the people that are using it. Okay, that's how you do it. Go around and make sure you got your card that says it's okay to use it, right? Well, you better have your card and your receipt that says you paid for it.
Well, actually, you don't need a card now in California to use it.
Well, but they had it in the past. It was okay to carry. I think we've proven in the past that they were able to carry it, and it didn't ruin their lives to carry an extra card in their wallet.
What I would do is I would simply say, you know what, I will go and I will buy a pack, buy some legally, and I'll just buy my illegal stuff and I'll just put it in the same pack. I'll just keep reusing the same pack.
That's sure. And you and I both know that the homemade cigarette looks a little bit different from the one that comes from Marlboro.
Well, yeah, but marijuana cigarettes, let me clarify. I don't know what
the
a legal marijuana cigarette looks like compared to an illegal one.
The one that comes from the dispensary looks exactly like the one that comes from Marlboro without the filter, or from Camel, I guess you'd say. So they are the same type and professionally made. So if you pull out your stems and shake out of the box of Marlboro, I believe the cop's going to know the difference. It's okay.
Well, unless you bought that stuff legally, because it's not illegal to roll your own cigarettes.
It is not illegal to roll your own cigarettes.
Just like it's not illegal to roll your own joints.
The one thing the government does get right is how to process it and make it look perfect. And you can tell the difference between a short pack filler as opposed to shakes and stems.
I'm trying to imagine the average law enforcement officer trying to distinguish the difference between legal weed and illegal weed.
Well, that's no problem, sir. If you don't have your tax card on you, we'll just take it in and send it for testing. All of it that you have, because you don't have your receipt and your tax card on you. No big deal.
Yeah. Nah, I'm
If they want to get
sorry,
serious,
man.
Greg, if they really want
I'm
to
just
get
like
serious,
this. The idea of trying to regulate it the way they keep saying they want to, I don't see it happening effectively because quite honestly, the drug cartels are a lot more experienced at this than the government is.
Yes. Yeah. Oh no, but you know what the government's more experienced than they are at? Taxing people. And if you let them go crazy, and if you really want to solve the problem, send the police out there with the fine book and find everybody that's smoking weed. Because guess what? Now everybody's doing it on every corner. It won't be hard to find, right? And it's not like they're going to run away, right? They're just going to be like, "Whoa, man, what's going on, dude? I'm just hungry, man. I'm hungry."
You turn all these potheads into Republicans.
That's it. Exactly right. They just walk around with
It won't
bags
be.
of
It won't be
Doritos.
the next revolution. Won't be the Tea Party. It'll be the weed party.
That's it. That's it. The cops can walk around with those little sample bags of Doritos, handing them out. They just
There
shake
you
them, and they'll all show up.
Look,
You
the
got
Berkeley
Doritos,
Weed
man?
Party is what they'll call it instead of the Boston Tea Party.
There you go. Yep. The California Weed Party. Yep.
Oh, hilarious.
The problem is they showed up a day late to vote. That's the problem.
So let's get into something else that's hilarious. You guys all know Let's Go Brandon has become a thing. Well, there's actually been a number of songs that have been created that Let's Go Brandon songs. And at one point on Apple Music over the weekend, Let's Go Brandon songs were number 1 and number 3 on the most popular hit list on Apple
That's
Music.
odd.
Huh? What'd you say?
You said number 1 and number 3, and I said, well, that's odd.
Well, Adele's new song was number 2.
Well, 1 and 3 are odd numbers, not number 2. Sorry.
That is odd. You're very quick-witted this evening or afternoon. For you, it'd be this evening. But check it out. So YouTube and Instagram have both banned the most popular of the Let's Go Brandon songs because they say that they provide misinformation.
Yeah, about COVID. You know, that's the only thing they can get rid of, right? What are they talking about? Let's go, Brandon. Well, the guy's name's Brandon, and we're saying let's go. It comes from Kelly Stavist there, the ESPN reporter, right, when she was at the races.
Right.
So, what could they possibly be? And listen, I only got to listen to one of the songs because it is banned now. But they're saying that's banned for misinformation. If it's banned for misinformation, must be talking about the COVID, right? So we got bad COVID information on these songs now as well.
That's pretty much what they seem to be saying, that it comes down to information or lines that are in there relating to COVID. It is beyond crazy what it is that they're doing here. And I think what happened is somebody complained, and enough people complained because they don't like the Let's Go Brandon song. They don't like people saying, what it really stands for is F Joe Biden. Number of people complain, and so then they restrict it, and they look for a reason to restrict it.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. I need like a 3-minute elevator ride with one of these people from YouTube, one of them bosses there. I'm going to solve a lot of problems.
Do they have any idea how stupid they make themselves look?
Well, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. These are the grown-up nerds. They don't care. And now that you call them a nerd, it's bullying, and so they're gonna silence you. Well, listen. I'm just gonna say this: that karma is a real thing, and every one of them at some point is gonna end up on a 3-minute elevator ride with someone.
Right.
And they're gonna leave with the emergency button reversed in their forehead right here.
Well, I think that the hard part with YouTube in particular is that, it is probably the most searchable or searched engine other than Google itself. Yeah. And by the way, they're both owned by the same people, Google.
Right.
But, I really got to believe that in particular when it comes to video hosting, there's got to be, whether it's Rumble, which, by the way, seems to be doing a relatively decent job of becoming a replacement or an alternative to YouTube. The problem is that it's just not as searchable. So when you go to search and you try to find stuff, or in particular video, it's just not as easy to find stuff there. But they have to realize that they are encouraging alternatives And I'm hoping that those who have the resources and the technological know-how to create those alternatives continue to work to bring those to the people so that we can actually have some accountability. Because that's the worst part is Google and YouTube have, and Facebook and all the rest of these tech giants have absolutely no accountability when it comes to the stuff that they censor.
Yeah. Yep. No. Agreed.
It's a pain in the patootie.
Yep. We'll get it though. Listen, there's another social media giant. Looks like it might be on the rise. Also, we'll talk about that one probably tomorrow. But
yes, sir. We'll probably talk about that one tomorrow. But it reminds me, and this kind of reminds me of our parting shot. It's like, there used to be a time, and then once again, they claim that this is all about COVID and misinformation on COVID, but it's really not. It's about control, and that's why there was a time when we used to treat viruses with soup and vitamin C and plenty of rest instead of communism, or more properly stated, fascism.
That's it. When we treated viruses with soup, vitamin C, plenty of rest instead of freaking communism over here.
Right.
And I think that's actually what I think fascism actually is. It's just a hyphenated version of frickin' communism.
The reason why I note the difference is because you can have communism is really an economic system. Fascism is, once again, when government and industry and all work together to push forth a narrative to control people's decisions and control people's ability to make decisions. Once again, a great book on that is Liberal Fascism by Jonah Goldberg. Really, he kind of lays it out. For those of you interested in that kind of stuff. Anyway, Mikey,
I agree. But I think it's the short term for. Yeah, I think it's just a hyphenated word.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do
this. There you go. I like it. I'm with it. I'm with it.
Just,
not that, but I like your definition there. How about we give a shout out to our sponsors?
Shall we? Let's talk to them. Let's talk to our good friends at Grid Defense. Check out Grid Defense, man. They got some stuff going on over there. That's pretty cool stuff. Some out of you get your 80% stuff. You get every part you need at either Grid Defense or Gorilla Machining. And you're going to get, listen, if one doesn't have it, others guaranteed to have it. You could build those 308s, you could build those standard 556s, and they have the 80%ers for you ready to go. So you could stay as an individual manufacturer as allowed in the law. And then, of course, our good friends at the California Republican Assembly.
Exactly. The Republican wing of the Republican Party. All three of our sponsors, they have links in the description of this video. Do me a favor, take a moment, visit them, and let them know that the folks at the Rundown sent you. Also, please remember, like, share, subscribe. We know, and we talked about this before, we know that the folks at YouTube and the folks at Facebook, they're throttling our videos. They're throttling when you get informed about when they come. So you need to make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification buttons and, encourage your friends to do the same.
Do it now and enjoy those tacos today.
All right. See you guys tomorrow on Hump Day.
Bye-bye.